Hello and welcome to the British Dapper, and today we're talking about using colour and contrast in your clothing. So have you ever looked at a person wearing an outfit or an ensemble and thought, that really works well, but you haven't really worked out why or how that works so well? Well, today I'm going to introduce you to the concept of contrast. So this is not so much about, for example, the colours that we use. In this case, for example, I'm using a teal roll neck jumper, and I'm using that with a tweed jacket because the jacket's got some blues in it. I've picked the blues up and the reds from the actual jacket in the pocket square, and the actual jumper seems to tie it quite well together. So we're not actually talking about necessarily the colours involved, but more about that contrast. So where you might see somebody wearing light coloured trousers, mid coloured jacket and a dark tie, that seems to come together quite nicely and is quite a normal look to see. So in this case I'm going to break it down to three different contrasts: light contrast, mid contrast and dark contrast. So for example, in this outfit that we're putting together for display purposes, you can see here that if we were to wear this light coloured roll neck jumper, which has got a lot of texture in it, and we put that with some mid coloured jeans, that would be quite a good combination for that relaxed casual look. But if we then used a dark brown overcoat with that, we use all three of those contrasts: the light contrast in the jumper, the mid contrast in the jean and the dark contrast in the actual coat, and it seems to come together really well. Another version of that might be a white or a cream coloured shirt, mid blue jeans or chinos and a dark jacket. We could employ, for example, dark chinos as the dark contrast, a mid coloured jacket for the mid contrast and a lighter blue shirt as the light contrast, and that comes together nicely as well. But when it comes to complex contrasts, in other words, for example, this image here, you can see there are probably about 5 different contrasts being employed. So it is making a definition between each statement piece. So you're contrasting from light to a slightly darker or dark, and backwards and forwards, and that works really well, especially when you're multi-layering something. And in this case you can see there are quite a number of layers being employed. Something else to consider is when you're wearing a light pair of trousers, maybe a darker shoe would contrast and complement that look more than something lighter. Although I have seen people work along a contrast trail of dark top getting lighter as you go down the body to light shoes, and vice versa. Very light from the top working down, getting darker and darker as you get towards the shoes. So it would go, for example, through that light contrast, mid contrast, dark contrast. Again, they always seem to work on that principle of light, mid and dark contrasts. So even if they're not all the same colour, but they come across the same contrast level, so in other words you still have a light, mid and dark contrast, you'll always get a pleasing aesthetic. So there may well be a different way of looking for you. Here's another version of contrasting, and for example you can see that he's wearing quite a dark polo neck jumper, some mid-coloured jeans, and the jacket is a little bit darker than the overcoat, and it comes together quite nicely and it's quite a refreshing look. So again, it's not about the colours necessarily, but more about the contrasting that makes it interesting. In this image, for example, you can see that they're employing a dark shirt. The mid contrast is the jacket and the light contrast is the trousers. And again, it's quite a good look. The final one I'm going to show you now is where they're wearing dark trousers and they're wearing a mid-toned jacket and a lighter shirt. So in this case you're looking at dark contrast trousers, mid-contrast jacket, light contrast shirt. And in this case it's quite a nice soft look, but you can tell that each item would stand out and contrast each other nicely to give that overall nice aesthetic. When it comes to colour, then all I would suggest is that maybe by introducing something with a bit of texture, you get within a particular item different shades. For example, velvet, the way it catches the light, you get dark parts and light parts where the light reflects off the material, and that's quite nice to introduce into an ensemble. So it's not necessarily about the colour, but also about the way the light plays on it as well. Tweed's a good example. From a distance it looks like a solid block of colour. When you get closer to it, it's much more detailed and refined, and there's a lot more going on. As you get closer with Donegal tweed as an example, you can see different flecks of different colours and materials, and maybe the pattern itself, when you get closer you realise it's herringbone and multiple colours. So it's not just about one block of colour. So just a thought, contrasting as a way of changing the way that you wear something and the concept of contrasting. So let me know if you employ that system, or if you don't, why don't you? Have you found something else that works better for you? We'd like to hear from you. So if you've got a constructive comment about the video, then jot them down below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe, then please feel free to do so. We have a Buy Me a Coffee page, so if you'd like to make a contribution to the channel, then please feel free to do so. I'll put the link down below so you can do that. So until next time, take care.